Good morning, New Zealand. It is Wednesday morning, middle of the week. What is it? It's the 10th of December. What's 14 days? It's a fortnight today. It's going to be Christmas Day. And I just have to put up this message that came through. Lynette says, good morning from a dull Christchurch. Lynette, I'm assuming you're referring to the weather and not the social life in Christchurch. Anyway, morning to you. Let's get straight into it. Welcome to Daybreak. Yeah, 10th of December, and at the end of the Daybreak, I'm going to tell you what is the most searched verse on the YouVersion Bible app. So what is the verse in the Bible that people have searched for the most this year? Can you guess what it is? Maybe you put in your prediction in the comments on our YouTube account or on Family First Facebook page, and if anybody gets it right, I'll send them a cup, a Daybreak cup. There we are. Nice, eh? Right, let's get straight into it. And this is the news item that you will not see in the mainstream media because it goes against the narrative. And that is that there is public support for the ban on puberty blockers. In fact, 2-1 in favour. Less than 1 in 4 people oppose the ban. Yeah, oppose the ban. Less than 1 in 4. Only 23% oppose the ban. 50% support the ban, wish it was higher. I think it should be higher, but 50% have got their head around it. 27% weren't sure. So we've still got some persuading and some educating and basically explaining to do of the science and the research. Those 27%, they've heard the narrative from the media and from the proponents, and it just leaves them a little uncertain. So, yeah, we just have to break through that. But look, little opposition, but as I say, this wasn't a political decision. This was a health-based decision. It was based on the Cass review from the UK. It was based on the international research, the Finnish study on suicide ideation for gender-confused kids. It was based on the Ministry of Health's own briefing, which said that they couldn't prove the effectiveness of puberty blockers, and they also couldn't prove that it didn't do harm. So it was a medical health decision. It's also based on biological reality, isn't it? But the proponents of castrating and chemicalizing and confusing our kids said, it's a political decision. They didn't say that when abortion was legalized. They didn't say that when euthanasia was legalized. They never say it when those things happen. They never say it when birth certificates were warped so that you can put whatever gender you want. No, it's only a political decision when they don't like it. But this decision by the Minister of Health, Simeon Brown, was based on biological reality and health and protection of children. So good decision. Anyway, as I say, the lamestream media won't report this poll because it goes against their very narrative, doesn't it? All right, can you hear listen carefully, can you hear the complaining, the cries of anguish? It's coming from Australia. Today is the day where they have banned social media for under 16-year-olds. I was interested to see that ACT put out a media release, and they've said that, look, bans don't really work. They're not that keen on it. They said they asked for an inquiry. But in their media release, they actually say, well, let's watch Australia. And I think that's probably the response. They're not saying, okay, let's not even go there. They're saying, let's watch Australia. And I think most of the world are watching to see if this is going to work, because most of the world have figured out that, yes, there is a problem, and countries are genuinely trying to find a suitable solution. Is it App Store accountability so you can't get the app in the first place? Or is it banning social media for under 16s? Interestingly, that just today, and this is in the Post in Wellington, is this major study out of Sweden, where they followed 8,000 children between the ages of 10 and 14. And basically they found that social media use was associated with a gradual increase in inattentiveness. Can't sit still, can't concentrate. Be a few school teachers that will relate to this finding. They found that gaming or just watching videos didn't have the same effect. And these patterns remain the same even after accounting for children's genetic risk for ADHD and their family's income. And it didn't go in the opposite direction. It didn't say that kids with more inattentiveness went on social media. They found that it was only in one direction. Being on social media caused increased inattentiveness. So, interesting that study comes out today. I think everybody has recognised, and that's the part that I like about it, is there is finally a discussion about this issue. And we've finally acknowledged that actually screen time and social media is a problem. Look, we released a report in 2015 talking about screen time and kids being on it too much, both at school and out of school. And it was just mocked in the media. We were slightly ahead of our time. But now people realise it. The interesting thing about the Australian ban, everybody, if you hear any opposition to this ban, one of the key things is digital ID, and all adults are going to have digital ID. The law in Australia specifically says that you can't use government digital ID as a way to verify age. It's quite clear. It's off the table. So social media companies are having to figure it out and use some form of age verification. The thing is, they already know how old the kids are. They know the under-16s. That's why they've been spending the last couple of weeks warning the under-16s that they will need to get off their account. And have you heard, just to prove that this is correct, have you heard a single complaint from a 64-year-old saying, Facebook told me I'm going to be blocked off my account because I'm under 16? No, you haven't, because the social media companies know who is under 16. We're holding big tech to account. It's a great decision. Right. Thank goodness for One News. I was feeling hot and bothered, and I thought, how am I going to cope with this global warming and climate alarmism? And I opened the One News app, and there it was, Seek Shade. Ha! Why didn't I think of that? I am very grateful to One News for helping me through life and making the big decisions. Seek Shade. How did I ever cope without One News? Now, how did we ever cope without anti-Israel supporters?
Parliamentary question.
This happened in Parliament yesterday. Yep, genocide. Blah, 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 blah. Now, the interesting thing is that it went on for more than 2 minutes, and the Speaker of the House just stood there and watched. Should have just cleared out Parliament and should have turned off the cameras. But unfortunately gave oxygen to this ranting. Yeah, it almost sounds demonic, doesn't it? Anyway, yeah, that's what went on in our Parliament yesterday. Seemed like a lack of control. Right. Oh, yes. Let me show you what the Children's Commissioner is up to. And look, I don't have a lot of time for the Children's Commissioner. I think it's like the Human Rights Commission. It's a complete waste of space and funding and doesn't do anything. But the Children's Commissioner has come up with the perfect plan for solving our unacceptable rates of child abuse. Sign a petition. Oh, yeah. And so this was the media coverage, the fawning media coverage of our Children's Commissioner. The Labor government actually did away with the Children's Commissioner because it was waste of space, useless. And then the national government brought it back in, the coalition brought back in the Children's Commissioner. But anyway, I want to show you this clip and just make a couple of comments as we go through it. So this is the news item about it.
Dear children, there's over 1 million tamariki in New Zealand, and you've all got your whole lives ahead of you.
In New Zealand, those lives are too often burdened by abuse or cut short.
Every 4 to 5 weeks in our country, a child is being killed by homicide.
Let's just stop it there. Every 4 to 5 weeks, a child is being killed by homicide. Actually, it's more than that. Do you know that it's more than 300 per week being killed in the womb? So that's 1,500 in your timeline, Children's Commissioner. But you're not talking about that.
Over the past decade, in our country, 113 children have been killed by homicide.
Yep, absolutely tragic. 113 children killed by child abuse. But the fact of the matter is, actually, there's been, in the last decade, about 180,000 unborn children killed in the womb. But they're not talking about that. So it's very hard to take them at face value when they are concerned about vulnerable children, isn't it? Anyway, let's continue.
This letter, written by the Children's Commissioner, is an attempt at the first step towards reversing those statistics, raising awareness of all forms of abuse, from neglect to emotional, sexual and physical harm.
Oh, yes, all forms of abuse. Oh, except that one of the most vulnerable children in the womb.
Empowering victims and witnesses to speak up.
All forms of child maltreatment, they are preventable.
The goal is for every Kiwi adult to sign the digital letter and spread it widely. But that won't solve this crisis.
No, it
the
won't.
Commissioner acknowledging today the government has a big part to play.
We know that to shift the dial on this, we also need those systemic factors to be addressed. Things like poverty, we need to see that significantly reduce. We need to see unmet mental health and addiction needs. We need to see those addressed.
Yeah, well, maybe the Children's Commissioner should go back to all the reports that have been released over the last 2 to 3 decades that actually, yes, it does talk about drug and alcohol abuse, although I haven't heard the Children's Commissioner attacking the Druggy Foundation for wanting to liberalise drug laws. Have you heard anything about that? This is the same Children's Commissioner who has been silent. The Office of the Children's Commissioner was silent during the abortion bill when it went through Parliament. I think the Children's Commissioner at that time was Andrew Beecroft. Silence. Nothing about the unborn child. And this is the same Children's Commissioner who wants kids given puberty blockers. Yes, that's what they said in their submission to the Ministry of Health. And they don't talk about some of the root causes which have been identified causing child abuse, which is breakdown of family, breakdown of marriage rates, absence of biological parents and biological fathers especially. Do you know the safest place for a child to be, according to the research, is where the child is with the biological father, where the father is present and the father is married to the mother. That is the safest place for a child to be. It's not perfect. There are exceptions, but it is the safest by far. One of the most unsafe places is for where mum has the live-in, rotating, non-biological boyfriend moving in and changing. That's when a child is most at risk. But they don't talk about that. They don't talk about marriage or strong families. They go back to poverty and they go back to drug and alcohol. That's about the one accurate. But when they're not willing to defend the unborn child, they've already created a culture of death. And is it any wonder that we have a culture of death related to not only the unborn, but also our young children, or tamariki, as she says. So, sorry, Children's Commissioner, can't really take you seriously. All right, let's continue. Funny thing on Parliament steps. So this is what I was talking about when the system crashed. There was a petition being presented on Parliament. It was a petition about David Seymour's bad behaviour. And it was being presented by Tory whānau with the representatives from the Green and Te Pāti Māori. Now, they didn't mention the bad behaviour of Te Pāti Māori in Parliament that got them suspended. They didn't talk about the bad behaviour of Green MPs like Benjamin Doyle, the ex-Green MP. They didn't talk about the bad behaviour of journalists like Andrea Vance from Stuff that calls female MPs she doesn't like the C word. No, they didn't talk about that. They talked about David Seymour because he said a bad word apparently. Anyway, the funny thing is you watch this video, while they're presenting the petition about David Seymour's bad behaviour, watch who walks past in the background.
Those standards of integrity, of honesty, of building society, replicated in the actions and behaviour of ministers. We haven't seen that, so we don't think fundamentally Christopher Luxton is up to the job. Kia ora.
Now here comes the speech.
Tēnā koutou katoa. It is a real honour to be here standing alongside Elizabeth with her petition and handing this to Marama Davidson, to wahine toa that I have looked up to for a very long time, and I think this kaupapa is important to many of us. Several months ago, our Deputy Prime Minister, David Seymour, started a social media campaign against our academics for submitting against the Regulatory Standards Bill and referred to them as having derangement syndrome. That sort of language and behaviour for not just him, but others as well.
Yeah, so that's the hurty word that they're doing this petition, because David Seymour used derangement syndrome. But as I say, look in the background and you've got some misbehaving MPs, some misbehaving parties. But as I say, it's just very funny as they're presenting this petition. Let me show you that clip again. And who walks along in the background? You couldn't have scripted that better, David Seymour. That was just perfect timing in terms of walking past. So anyway, that was a bit of fun. Now, Google searches, very interesting. The latest data, where is it? Latest data on Google searches in the US. The top trending US searches of 2025. Charlie Kirk was number one. And K-pop Demon Hunters, Labubu, iPhone 17, One Big Beautiful Bill Act. These were all in the top five. Zoran Mandani, the New York mayor. But the New Zealand data. So here's the New Zealand data. What did we look for? The biggest search term in New Zealand this year was, well, I've circled it, is Charlie Kirk as well. And also the death of Tom Phillips, the All Blacks, Cyclone Alfred. Yeah, so interesting. Charlie Kirk certainly had an impact, and a lot of people maybe who didn't know him previously wanted to know him. Now that's interesting because I've actually just done a McBlog on this, which you can see, and there's a new survey about the impact of Charlie Kirk's death. And what they found was is that amongst all the generations, so the red is following very closely and the yellow is somewhat closely. And you'll see there that there's quite a lot. I mean, it's in the 30s to 40%, but practicing Christians, excuse me, bottom right-hand corner, a lot of followers, and Gen Z and millennials. Quite a lot of followers there. Now, here's the interesting question. They said, have you taken any action since the passing of Charlie Kirk? And although 71% said no action had been taken, that means 29%, that's almost 1 in 3, had taken either spiritual action, political action, or both spiritual and political action. And the big amount is for Gen Z and millennials, the younger generations. You'll see there, second and third from the left, taking spiritual action, and maybe you've seen evidence of that. Anyway, so that's the McBlog that I did, and it's up on our website, and it also includes an interview that Erica Kirk did recently, which was all class, where she talked about forgiveness, talked about faith, talked about family and the legacy of Charlie Kirk. Meanwhile, our good friend Candace Owens says that apparently the latest theory is that TPUSA, Turning Point, has been hijacked under the guise of faith to infiltrate the evangelical church, because apparently a lot of churches want to get involved with Turning Point. And it's a US Zionist-centered agenda masquerading as freedom first patriotism. That's the latest theory. You couldn't script this any better, a very funny story. So FIFA decided that they would be woke, and in the World Cup next year, the FIFA World Cup, which is being held in Canada, America, and the United and Mexico, they decided that they would have a Pride match as they prepared to go into July, the whole month of Pride, because people need to be reminded about LGBT because everybody forgets about it. Not, and so you got to have a whole month, July, and so FIFA said, okay, well this game's going to be the Pride match. But the problem is when they did the draw, the two teams that are going to be playing on that day in the Pride match are Iran and Egypt. Yeah, who's going to wear the rainbow armband on that game? I mean, it's just, yeah, it's very funny. You couldn't script that any better. Anyway, go woke and get confused. Speaking of that, a new study out. Where was it? Where did I put that study? Oh, there we go. Apparently, there's always been this push to have LGBT characterizations in TV programs. But the problem is that a whole lot of those programs are being scrapped. That's a shame. That's a real shame. And they're very worried about that. All right. Now, let's just have a look. Latest political polls. It's nice to have everybody back again. Back on the stream. Sorry about the little delay. What happened was, the reason I'm running late is the system crashed. And everything froze. So it's nice to see you back on. And it wasn't coffee on the laptop. It just crashed. So anyway, and there was some topics that I really wanted to get through. One of them was this one. So latest poll out, political poll, and big drop for the Greens, which we're all disappointed about. And Te Pāti Māori as well, big drop. So Labour have sort of benefited from that drop. But when you look at the seats in the House, basically if an election was held, National the coalition would cruise in. And so that sort of, goes against the whole narrative of, Luxon's failing and they need to roll him. The media can't quite keep that narrative up, although let me show you, they're trying to. Most preferred Prime Minister, bit of a bump for Luxon, surprisingly. And Chris Bishop is on 2. So the media got very excited about Chris Bishop getting 2%. Erica Stanford and Nicola Willis have got 1%. So they're all within the margin of error. But the media just wanted to highlight Chris Bishop. Wonder why. One other poll, they asked, should the current Te Pāti Māori co-leaders remain in their roles? And people have lost confidence in them. Don't know why they ever had confidence in the first place. But even amongst Te Pāti Māori voters, they also felt that the leadership should change. But I just want to show you a clip. So they interviewed Chloe Schwarbrick about this massive drop of 4%. That's a significant drop in your polling in just 1 month. And when they interviewed Chloe, she said, well, no, it's not the Greens' policies and the wacky MPs that's the problem. It's the voters that have got the problem. Have a watch.
Despite a massive 4-point drop, the Greens aren't glum, instead saying voters are.
They're exhausted. They're over it. This government doesn't listen to them, so why would they engage with politics right now?
Are they over the Greens?
I think, again, one poll. We've bounced up and down. Well, we've bounced up and down.
Between Labour's recent policy spray and Te Pāti Māori ructions, the Greens are struggling for attention.
We are focused on addressing the material, basic needs of New Zealanders, and maybe that stuff isn't sexy. I don't know.
Not a good answer when you blame the voter and not knowing. And if you watch Straight Talk on Monday night, you'll know that I made a tongue-in-cheek prediction that there could be a high-profile retirement over January. That's my prediction. Don't hold me to it. But if it does happen, I'll be the first to tell you, because I just don't think Chloe is in the right place. She's sort of lost that. This is going to hurt. This poll result is really going to hurt, and that doesn't go down well. Now, just back to the media. The media was still sniffing around the fact that they're trying to undermine Luxon's leadership, and they still really want Chris Bishop to be the one, and some more appalling reporting from One News, where they're not reporting the news, they're trying to create a story, create the news, and have a watch.
How safe is your leadership?
Well, we're very focused on what we're doing, which is getting on with the job and getting things done, and we're going to have an election next year.
Not quite answering the question, Prime Minister. How safe is your leadership?
Very safe.
Chris Bishop curiously popping up on 2% as preferred Prime Minister.
And what?
Is that great for national affairs? Chris Bishop, are you keen on the leadership?
Keen on getting RMA reform done today, which is what I'm about to go and do.
Have you been running the numbers behind the scenes?
I've been working on the RMA.
Can Christopher Luxon trust you?
For the last couple of years, so I'm pretty keen to get it away today, and in about 2 or 3 hours you'll see.
There's been a lot of chat about you, though.
Things we've been working on.
Can Christopher Luxon trust you?
I think Christopher Luxon will be wondering which barbecues he's going to get invited to.
Who's this guy?
He's just 27. How good is that?
When asked who was best to lead National, 35% said Christopher Luxon, but a total of 30% felt another MP would be better. Chris Bishop, the leading candidate, on 13%.
Wow.
The rest didn't know or wouldn't say.
Now, just a really important thing to note in this is asking all voters. So this is not asking National Party voters, this is also asking Labour, Te Pāti Māori, Green voters. Do you think they're going to endorse what is best for the National Party? But yeah, you don't hear that narrative in the media report. Anyway.
Chris Hipkins is the standout option as Labour leader. 45% say he's best for the job. His next closest rival is Kieran McAnulty with 12%, but around a third of people didn't know or wouldn't say.
Worthy of celebration
indeed.
I'm keen to play my part, but I've never wanted to be leader, and that's not going to change.
How safe is...
Oh, well, that's, that was very convenient, wasn't it? They hounded Chris Bishop and asked him if he's doing the numbers, and they didn't ask Kieran McAnulty they didn't hound him and ask him if he was doing the numbers to roll Chris Hipkins. You can see sort of the narrative here, but they're, as I say, they're creating the story. One thing that they didn't report in all of this is, and I think it was the most significant figure when you drill into the data, which the media didn't show you, is the economic outlook. Optimism in the economy has gone up 6 points and pessimism has gone down 9 points. That's a 15% change. That's a big change in how we think about things. And that is going to be very important for the coalition government. If they can get people feeling good about the economy, then they've got a very good chance. All right, one of the biggest media cover-ups that you will ever see, even greater than Hunter Biden's laptop or the mental capacity of Biden while he was president, is here in New Zealand, and it's this case about Willie Jackson, MUMA, which is the Manukau Urban Authority, I can't remember what the second M stands for, and some allegations of bullying. And if you remember the Darlene Tana case, the Green MP, and she basically lost her role because she was involved, or her husband was involved in a business where there was allegations of bullying. This is a similar type case, and there's been lots of reporting by the Platform, Daily Examiner. It's talked about a lot on X, on Twitter, social media, but the mainstream media are not going anywhere near it. And there's a flurry of legal letters going left, right, and centre. And it's Matt McCartan is involved and calling out the bullying. And Matt McCartan is a left winger, used to be involved in the Alliance, and is a unionist on the side of the left. And yet he's calling it out, and the media just won't go near it. Massive cover up. It's incredible. So. Look, there's a very good interview Michael Laws did with Matt McCartan on the Platform. And if you want to check this, go to YouTube and you can hear that. In the funniest story of the week, team, this was hilarious. So the Auditor General has come out and said that some schools are spending way too much money and not accounting for it with some pretty lavish trips, cruises and hospitality. And one school spent $18,000 taking some senior staff on this junket to Queenstown. And it was none other than our favourite principal at Hayata Community College. You know, the one that complained about the furry food in the lunches and then said they didn't have a commercial kitchen to reheat food, but actually they do have a commercial kitchen, and is a serial complainer against the school lunches. Yeah, that school spent $18,000 sending 6 senior staff on a junket to Queenstown. Well, it's leadership development or something. I just hope my staff don't hear about these trips, because they'll be expecting the next staff retreat in Queenstown. It ain't going to happen, staff. But anyway, it is a very funny story. The other funny story is that President Biden returned to the screens. He turned up to this function to celebrate his most inclusive presidency and got an award from the LGBTQI fraternity. And he got up to do a speech, and, well, I don't know if you've been missing him, but anyway, bit of a faux pas. He went to say United States of America, just to remind everybody that it is in the United States of America, and said this.
Just have to get up. As long as we keep the faith, summon hope, and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America. That's who we are. We're the U.S. And there's nothing. I mean,
we're the United States of America. Okay, have you missed that? Yeah, it is quite funny, isn't it? Now I am going to give you the most Googled Bible verse of 2025, and I did actually ask everybody to give me their suggestions, and if you got it right, I was going to give you a free cup. So you got about 10 seconds or 15 seconds before I tell you what was the most Googled Bible verse of the year. And if you get it right, I'll give you one of these. Well, the first right gets the Daybreak cup. Foodog says, let's go, Brandon. Yeah, it is funny. Let me show you again, because it is funny.
Just have to get up. As long as we keep the faith, summon hope, and get back up and remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America. That's who we are. We're the U.S. And there's nothing. I mean,
yeah, we're the United States of America. Just one other study I just wanted to tell you about. The study that nobody will be surprised by. Children who returned to in-person schooling during the coronavirus pandemic saw improvements in their mental health, according to a new United States study. It found that school reopenings were associated with significant declines in diagnoses of anxiety, depression, and other conditions. And the findings, this is from researchers at Harvard School of Public Health. They said that social structure and support schools provide protected children's mental well-being during the pandemic. It was one of the arguments that we also argued in court. We brought together a whole lot of church groups and individual churches and did a judicial review of the fact that they locked down churches during the pandemic, and said that actually, they didn't lock down brothels, did they? And we said actually churches were important for spiritual well-being and connection, that you could take safety precautions but still allow churches to meet. But of course the government did not move on that, and the court didn't back us up, unfortunately. And this study shows that actually there was a mental and emotional component to it, as well as the safety aspect. Right, so nobody will be surprised by that study. Paul says John 3:16. No, it wasn't. Sorry. Most Googled. Right, no, nobody got it. Here we go. This is the most Googled verse according to YouVerse Bible app, the top Bible verse of 2025. And it was this one, Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So, yeah, there we are. That is the most Googled verse according to YouVersion Bible app, which I use, by the way. It's a very good app. All right, we made it very late, and it was because the system crashed halfway through, so apologies for that. That's why I'm still here. So there's kind of two sections to Daybreak today. I might have to patch it all together, and just make it one. Anyway, hopefully things will be back to normal. Simon will be with you tomorrow morning. We've got political playback tomorrow night, final one for the year, and then I'll be back on Friday morning, and hopefully everything will be working again. So anyway, you have a great Wednesday. Thanks for hanging in there. Have a great day.